the ice behind my stone cold eyes. I turn to ashes, but only just sometimes. Inhale your smoke, but you still act surprised. It's not my fault when we end up capsized. You call me crazy now, but you don't understand. I'm calling out to you. Can you hear a thing? 'Cause you lit the match that ignites the flame. I'm the TNT, but you're the spark to blame. And it's fire, burning holes inside my brain. Feel the fire, heat that melts us down again. Now it's pouring through my veins, but I said you're the spark to blame. And it's fire, burning holes inside my brain. Some days with you it's paradise, but now you spin me in a web with all your lies. Want you to feel the way I feel inside. I'm reaching out for help, you got me in a riptide. You call me crazy now, but you don't understand. I'm calling out to you. Can you hear it?
This child will have the best upbringing anyone could give them. And I know that I will do my best to raise this kid right. Mary said to herself as she ordered equipment for her lab and baby furniture for the nursery. Mary smiled as she leaned back in her chair and then crossed her arms as she knew that she had to figure out what to do with her father and his wife. Since they were starting to get more and more desperate about the upcoming birth of the child, and they knew that once the both comes, there really were no more ways to stop Mary from doing what she was going to do. Mary then got up and went to her bedroom and laid in bed and fell asleep, so she didn't have to wait long, even though she knew it was not going to be a long wait. And Mary knew that she could not handle a long wait even if she tried, but she knew that she had to do that. She could set up her lab while she waited for the child to come. The next morning, Mary got up and went to check the front door to see if everything was delivered and smiled as she noticed that the baby furniture had been delivered. She then grabbed the boxes and started to move them inside as she knew that now there was no time to waste. Even though she knew that she had stuff to do, she had to wait around until she heard signs that the baby was here, and she knew with each passing day that the day could either come sooner or later than anyone expected. But she knew that she was so excited to meet the baby and to finally be able to grow her family the way she wanted without having to go through the extremes. Yet she still knew that she had to keep her guard up, since Emily or Daniel could do something to trick her into letting them keep their baby for themselves. And she knew that she could not let either of them outsmart her before she could get her hands on the child, and so she knew that to watch out for any sign. Once she had gotten the nursery set up, Mary then walked back to her office and continued ordering stuff for her lab, but then stopped as she knew that she needed to make the right decisions. She knew that the lab was only supposed to help her make money on the side, and that she needed a public job so that no one could question her on where she was or what she was doing. Mary then blinked and shook her head as she knew that she had to clear her mind, though she knew that it would be long and hard for her to start earning money on the side and I'm public. Got to focus on the baby, Mary. Don't let yourself get distracted by anything else. Nothing else should matter in this situation, Mary said to herself as she knew that she had to keep her mind on important matters, though she wondered how important some matters were more than others. And so she knew that she had to keep her office door open so that she could hear when Emily started screaming when she went into labor, but when she stood up to go to her office door she heard what she believed was the most amazing sound. She heard Emily screaming as she was giving birth and Daniel running around, and then she stayed seated as she knew that she had to play her cards right so that she didn't have a bad incident with the hospital and the baby. She waited and watched on her computer as Daniel's car sped its way to the hospital with her smile growing before she got up and ordered an Uber for the hospital. And Mary knew that she was not going to let anything stop her from doing what she needed to, and so she sat down and waited for the Uber to arrive. As she looked around, Mary sighed as she wondered how long the Uber was going to take, but she knew that she had to keep her focus and her patience. If she ever wanted to get the hospital staff to believe that she was the legal guardian of the child, she knew that she had to be cool and calm when she got to the room. Even though she could admit that she had no idea their room, but she knew that she needed to grab some items. So she got up and went to the mailbox, and then she grabbed the papers guaranteeing that she was the legal guardian of the child. But then she looked up as she heard a knock on the door, and then she got up and went to the door as she wondered who it was. And then she grabbed the door handle before freezing as she noticed that the person at the door was Daniel with a hopeful look on his face, even if both of them knew that he had no time to sit around and chat. She then leaned against the doorway and crossed her arms as she wondered what he was going to say, since he looked like he was rushing even himself out of the door.
I know Emily would kill me if she knew that I asked you, but if you come with us, will you let us have our child? Please, Mary, I am so desperate to find a solution that works for everyone. Daniel asked before Mary grabbed her papers and canceled the Uber, and then she walked to the car.
She noticed that Emily was screaming laying in the back seat, and so she hopped in the front seat as Daniel grabbed the car keys and then ran to the car and practically jumped in. He knew that he had to start the car right away, and so he did, and then he immediately raced to the hospital while constantly looking back at Emily, who was crying from pain. Though what Mary could admit was that the crying didn't sound like a woman giving birth, and it made her worried because if Emily had a stillbirth then she would have to sell the house to Daniel and Emily. And she knew that she was really starting to love the house and knew that she wanted to stay in it for longer, so she folded her hands and prayed that the baby would be born safe and alive. Though when Daniel saw her, he smiled, thinking she was praying for Emily's safety and things were finally going to be better through the three of them. But Mary knew better, and she knew that she was not going to let her father know what she was praying about, but she also knew not to let her hopes get too high. After Daniel pulled in, he and Mary immediately got out and watched as doctors rushed to the car with a stretcher and got Emily on the stretcher. Mary and Daniel followed after her, though Daniel knew that he wanted to keep Mary away from the birth, but also knew that she was as stubborn as him, so Daniel knew that she would immediately put up a fight.
Sir, young lady, you must follow me to the birthing room. We don't have time to waste,
the doctor said as she needed to get them going, and so Daniel and Mary followed the doctor to the birthing room as the doctors and nurses done their best to get Emily set up. Both of them would have rather the other person was not there, but they knew that now there was no time for that, and so they both turned and watched Emily give birth while Daniel held Emily's hand. Mary could see that something was wrong with Emily, but she didn't know if it was okay for her to ask, even if she was really curious about what was happening. Though she was distracted, she still focused on Emily since she wanted to pose a united family front with the hospital staff and Daniel, even though she knew that it was fake. Mary turned around a couple of times since she didn't want to admit that the process was going to make her feel disgusted, but she knew that she had to look like she had herself together. Once she heard the baby coming out screaming, Mary turned around with a smile on her face as she knew that she was going to get the child soon and that Daniel and Emily would finally be out of her house. Mary then walked forward and gently grabbed the baby from the nurse's arms, though the nurse thought that Mary was just a caring older sister and didn't think that Mary was going to be the child's legal mother. The nurse then walked out with a smile on her face as she enjoyed her job, though Daniel stood up and walked over to Mary as he knew that this was his final chance to get Mary to give them the child back and to leave the house. Mary then looked up at Daniel and then raised her eyebrow as if she was asking him what he was doing, and then watched as he instinctively took a step back. Mary then gave Daniel a smirk as she knew that she could make him back down with just one little look, and then she looked down at the child while softly bouncing the child in her arms. Daniel then took a step forward, though he felt the weight of Mary's betrayal weigh down on his heart, since he was wondering what he had done to have his firstborn child try to take his second child from his second family.